Hi, I'm Jay-Z Shepherd with We Rebuild Movement.
Hi, I'm Crystal Nishay with Be Unique.
And We Rebuild Movement's mission, it has to do with focusing and empowering and rebuilding the African American families. And not only that, our vision is to also have a place where we could conversate and educate.
So tell me about the We Rebuild movement and what is your desire for that?
So what we're trying to do is offer events and workshops, and we're doing a awesome event that is coming up June 29th.
Yeah.
And we're gonna have it at the Monarch Theater. We're gonna sell out. People are gonna come. I know for sure. But it has a lot to do with that. How we're gonna focus on ownership. Mm-hmm. And what do you own in your life? Are you owning your faith? Are you owning your family? Yeah. Are you owning yourself of who you are as a person? And are you owning your businesses? And those are the key things we need to talk about. And how do we get that mindset back of how to have ownership? And I think you kind of understand that when it comes about like ownership as a woman.
Yeah. And so before we get into that, so when you say ownership, just unpack something. Like, don't give us all like what we're going to talk about, because you need to be there. Y'all need to come to the spot.
Right.
But just something that you want to just touch on when it comes to ownership. What would you just give us in 30 seconds to a minute?
Okay, so what I would love to touch on is roles in our families. We are such in a place of not understanding our roles, and then when we find out what that is, we don't want to like take authority or own it and be the best you can be at that. And that's where the confusion comes in if you're not trying your best of owning that role within the family. Like, I know my kids own it. They own who they are as a child. They own, they're like, I'm a child and this is what I do, and this is the roles, this is the activities, this is the attitudes I'm supposed to have, and the behaviors. Well, what are those behaviors that we're supposed to have as a wife and as a mother? And is it okay to have these behaviors? And then what, when I don't have it, how to work around that. And then, what understanding the behaviors that come with a husband and a father as a woman's perspective, looking for that and not expecting more than that, or even if he doesn't reach that, supporting that place. Yeah. So I think that's something we could definitely talk about. That one of the questions we're going to talk about in our conversation. We definitely have a panel. We're going to have awesome people come on June 29th that are going to be on this panel that help this discussion, so people could really hear other advice of what that means.
Yeah, which I think is so important, because when you talk about the African American community and what we have gone through just being here in slavery, like, there is so much of our identity that has been stripped, and we live like this life and we go day to day to day without knowing who we are. Like, we're trying to figure it out, right? And a lot of us don't get into that place until we're like, in our 40s, 50s, and we're like really figuring out who we are. But what you're talking about is so important, because with the family, like, if you're starting off, what you just said, your kids, you're starting off from the jump. So they're not going to have these decades where they're just trying to figure out who they are, because you're being intentional about how am I going to build my family? What is the trajectory that I'm setting my family off on? Because everybody knows, mama know who she is, daddy knows who she is.
And they can see it.
Kids, exactly.
And they can see it.
Absolutely.
The visuals is why I even think this movement's going to work even more, because we have product, we have books, but you could see us, give you what that means, even in the way we act and how, as we converse as a tribe amongst each other. Yeah. And so, it's going to, tribal, you're going to hear all the time with We Rebuild Movement, because understanding tribe is what is the confusion we have in our families. Yeah. And, just doing my own personal research, that's what I found, that like, why I don't understand this is because I don't understand tribe. Right. And so that concept and what that really means, we're going to define in our event, so you guys can see what that means. Yeah. So it's going to be.
Okay, so I love the whole concept of the tribe. I love us digging into just knowing that. I think even on a more personal level, and even kind of fine tuning that, is just ownership of who you are. Yes. You know what I'm saying? Because we don't know who we are. And this is what I love about just us even coming together and collabing, because this is the We Rebuild, and I love how you're bringing different people so that their voices can be heard. Right. Even with Be Unique, that is the whole premise of Be Unique, is knowing who you are. Who was I? How did my experience in life shape who I was, and owning that, and being okay with, like, this is who I am. Whether I've gone through this, maybe your foster child, maybe you come out of some type of abuse, but just owning that and being okay with who you are, but then also building on that and knowing that all of those things that have shaped you, all of those all of those things that have shaped you can be used
uniquely.
And who you exactly.
And what made you come up with like be unique? Like I love the whole the theme of it and everything, but what happened to you to get you to that place of when you owned it?
Yeah, I'll say I got to a point where I had, how we do certain things, we have these behaviors and you're like, man, why do I keep doing this? Why do I keep falling into this particular pattern? And for me, I want to know, like I'm one of those type, I gotta know like what makes things work. I'll unpack the whole, like I'll take apart the whole clock just to see how. So that's how I started that journey. It's like, what shaped me? Why do I have these viewpoints? Why do I look at things a certain way? Why do I believe certain things? And so it started that journey on, okay, I was unique and I accepted that. Like, I'm like, okay, these experiences happen. Molestation coming out of that. All of these different things, right? This is who made me who I was. And I'm not ashamed of that. I'm not embarrassed about it. But at the same time, now I can change the way that I view and my today.
I think when we have the We Rebuild movement, we're going to talk about that shame part and how that really can mess up that owning thing because you're in shame.
Absolutely. Yeah, because you don't even, it's just so much to bear. Okay, so I know we're going to get further into a lot of this discussion, so I'm glad we had to kind of reel that back in. Okay, so what are some other topics we'll be discussing and conversing about on that evening?
Well, as a retired WNBA player, I understood a lot. I know, right? That I understood, about owning your own business, and I seen so many African Americans in this field, and we just did not know how to own that, and then not to own our own brand, all those kinds of things, branding ourselves, and changing it into like realizing that you are an entrepreneur already, and you're the product, and how do you create that to be something that where you can pass that on to your family and teach them ownership. And so we really struggled with that as an athlete, and I saw that same struggle within communities. Like not knowing that, doesn't stop, you already passed that apprenticeship. Time for you to own that same idea that they're doing, that you've been doing for over 15 years working with somebody. So I think in our communities that owning your career and owning your business has to be conversated about and has to be discussed in our events, because we've got to get to that next level of understanding that we need to not only own our own, but we have to help our own in that area of businesses.
Which I think is so good, because I think we've had plenty of conversations about this when it comes to just our culture anyway. Like we are the culture. We are the culture. You go to, I'm sure, any NBA or your WNBA game, like it's our music being played. We are the brand. So I love that you say that we are the brand, and owning that, because then we can really move some things. We can really we just have to possess our own power and know our worth and all that other stuff, but then also know how to spin it in those areas and businesses and branding and all of that. So
when it came to me, when I figured, it had a lot to do with my own faith too. So that's another topic, owning your faith. Because when I really, really got to understand how God's seen me, I started to see myself of what I was empowered from His power that He put on me to do on this earth. And it wasn't to serve nobody but Him and not someone else. And with the gifts that I have, He didn't give me the gift to give it to someone else in the sense of for them to own it.
Because that's what they're trying to do.
It's for me to own it. So at the end of the day, I had to really see that first. And I think that's something that is going to be another thing that we have to talk about, is knowing what that gift, why you were given these gifts from God, and how to own that. And then not only that, know who you are through that, and don't let no one take that away from you, and own it. Why would we give someone especially in the sports community? I'm like, come on, guys! We are the majority to the furthest. If not hardly anyone else that is in this career, and we are not owning any of the teams, any of not any of the products that are sold.
Right.
Like any product that is sold with my name on it, I should own it. Just the same way I do with my books now. So like, we've got to get back into that industry of understanding that and not be afraid to do it.
Right, to ask, reparations.
But it's just saying like, okay, I'm not going to do that in my contract.
No. Yeah,
I have a
but
separate
people don't
business.
know that though.
Yeah.
They don't even know to ask for that because we are so conditioned to believe like we need to go and play by their rules. Yeah, so I love that we're gonna dig even further into that.
Yeah,
and then even just being entrepreneurs, even outside of just owning your brand and using your gifts or talents. You know what I'm saying? But then also maybe you don't play ball or anything like that, but. I think we've had this conversation about just the rite of passage for Black and Brown, where we just need to, like, it's something that should be given to you as a Black or brown person. You need to own your own business, you know, and thinking in that manner, like, you don't have to work for somebody else. You don't always have to go down that path, but you can think about the creativity and owning and stuff like that. So I think it's going to be super dope.
Well, it's a beautiful thing, you know.
Yeah.
And I think that's the first thing that was given to Adam.
Yeah.
Ownership.
Bam.
So we can't talk anymore about it because then we'll give you everything that's going to be at the event. So you need to come so you can see what we're going to talk about with We Rebuild Movement. It's going to be dynamic.
Yes.
So you need to be there June 29th. It's going to be at the Monarch Theater, and it's going to start around 4 o'clock to about 9, and we're going to have a mixer after, and also after party. But you're going to most importantly get rebuilt.
That's right.
It is time to conversate,
educate,
and rebuild. #We Rebuild Movement.